sure it's...
My body and I don't get along. We have not gotten along for a long time. I've had back trouble for most of my adult life, and I've had to have repetitive care for it. And it just keeps going on and on and on, and no matter where I go, I don't seem to be able to get ahead of it. My husband and I had decided to come down and be camp hosts at Snow Canyon State Park, but I ran into a problem, and I had had a stress fracture in my foot in January, so I'd had a boot on for 3 months, and 2 weeks before we left for our trip, I was bending over to put some cleaning supplies away, and my whole back of my back just gave out, and I knew I was in trouble. It hurt worse than it ever has. I had care taken on it at home. And then I thought, well, I can make it down to Utah. Well, I was in the truck for 3 days. By the time I got here, I couldn't bend over to tie my shoes, and I couldn't roll over in bed unless it took me 5 minutes of just inch by inch. I was in massive amounts of pain, and I was really terrified because I didn't know what I was going to do. I happened to see Dr. Scott's business online, and it sounded like it was what I wanted. I had 4 visits, and by the 4th visit, I was 75% pain-free. And I've been working now with him for the last 2 months, and I can't say enough for this whole family that I've met here. Deb and Shara and Trisha are so welcoming, and they're like my cheerleaders. They just encourage me whenever I come in. Dr. Scott has so many different techniques that have brought healing to my body. One of the things that we did need to do was clear all the accidents that I'd had. I don't know if you'd call me klutzy, but I've fallen backward off a desk. I've had 5 pretty serious concussions. I've had a couple skiing accidents, and my body's just been traumatized. So we had to go through, we had a lot to get rid of. There's just a lot of trauma in my body from all of those accidents. And the biggest thing that I remember from the treatment that was just life-changing for me was, it was about our 4th treatment, and he was doing one of his techniques with me, and he had me say, I trust my body. And I couldn't say that. I broke down in tears, and that's how I felt. I felt like my body and I were at war, and no matter what I did for my body or to my body, I couldn't get it to work right, and even the smallest thing would set it off. And after we worked through that, that took a day. I mean, that was that visit, and I left the office, and my pain was almost gone, which was amazing. So we've worked for the last 2 months. I'm ready to go home now, back to Washington State. I feel like a different person. This last couple weeks, we have hiked, we've biked. I actually tried out my new body when we went to Canara Falls. I had biked 9 miles before we went on the hike, and then I went on the hike, and I had one of my relapses as far as my klutziness, and I was going up a tree, kind of bridge, and it was really wet, and I knew that this was probably not a good idea, and all of a sudden I fell, and it was kind of like I did the splits, and I really jammed my body hard, and I shook it off. I could never have done that. I saw him the next day. He tested me, and he says, wow, that was pretty amazing. You're okay. And I did the same thing today. I went on a hike up Padre Canyon and had a little accident on the way down. And so my body is just a stronger, more resilient body, and it's because we cleared the accidents. He's taught me how to think differently about taking care of my body and how I feel about my body. I just feel like I'm a new person, and I feel like I can go home to Washington. I still am going to continue body care, but I have a body now that I can use and not be afraid of.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Great job.
Okay.
Great job.
Okay.